Action.
So just really chaos on the water at this point.
Danger.
And she's your captain, and she's fearless, and you gotta be fearless too.
Adventure.
Next thing I know, my sailor is diving into the ring, and the crowd is getting louder.
You're listening to Sea Story.
Episode 20, Safety First.
I'm Dan Steber from Malden, Massachusetts, stationed at the Naval Safety Center, and this is my sea story. I left Malden, Massachusetts in September of 1975 to join the Navy. I didn't start out, like a lot of people, with the idea that I'd make a career of the Navy. Once I decided to make it a career, I never thought about the money. It wasn't the issue. It was the idea of service. It was the idea of working with shipmates, the camaraderie that's built in the Navy. And that's what drove me. I had been going to college. I left college to join the Navy, and my brother was in the Navy. So he was in Florida, palm trees, sunshine, and I kind of got bored in the middle of winter in Massachusetts, buried in snowstorms. I asked my brother what this Navy thing was about. He told me his experiences in the Navy. I knew a little bit about palm trees in Florida. So I decided, after talking to my brother, that I wanted to join the Navy. And I said, I want to see some palm trees. That kind of was the incentive. Sounds kind of crazy, but the truth. I went through boot camp, went through training, went to my first squadron, and that started my career. I was an aviation maintenance administration man, essentially a paperwork person in the maintenance department of squadrons. We had to take care of logbooks. Certain equipment on aircraft have time limits. I had to track those items to make sure we didn't overfly equipment. Then I was thrust into the maintenance department. Not being brought up on a flight deck of a carrier and suddenly being put there is kind of an intimidating thing. There are jets taxiing around, props all over the place, slick spots, trip hazards, all kinds of things that can cause you a bad day. To cross behind an A6, you run to the center line of the aircraft, away from the exhaust. You go to the drop tank, centerline tank, go around it, and go out the other side. And I had learned that, but one day a couple of my troubleshooters were running ahead of me. I was right behind them, following that path, and one of them suddenly stopped, and I bumped into him. My head came up just a little bit, just enough for that exhaust to grab my helmet and almost blow me down the deck. Now, I was smart enough to fall to the deck. There's a saying on the flight deck that you have to keep your head on a swivel. And what that means is there's so many things happening, you constantly have to be looking around and checking your surroundings, making sure you're in safe places, and there are safe places on the flight deck. And there are places you can get in trouble. So keeping your head on a swivel is important, but just as important is shipmates watching out for shipmates. There have been more than a few occasions where someone has grabbed my float coat, grabbed me, and you don't have to say words. You don't have communications in the jet noise. You can't really yell at each other. But he grabbed my float coat, and I realized that I was about to do something stupid. And that happens a lot. These are some of the learning things that you gain over a career, and you learn that I don't want to make that mistake again. As I gained seniority, I had some mentors who said, Dan, you can do more than just this AZ work. And that led to me being a line division chief, an avionics division chief, a flight deck coordinator, and ultimately I retired as the maintenance chief at CAG 8. Every challenge that the Navy gave me, I had to step up to the plate and try to achieve them. And there's not a lot of companies in the world that give you that same kinds of challenges. And it's up to the individual to determine what they're going to do with the challenge. The college classes I'd had over time, which I got through the Navy, led to joining the Naval Safety Center as the editor of MEC magazine. MEC is a maintenance safety magazine, still in circulation, started in 1961. I was thrilled to be the editor of that magazine. As a guy with 23 years of experience in naval aviation maintenance, it was the top of the chain, top of the mountain. What else could be better? I was dealing with sailors, shipmates, letting them tell their stories and getting their stories out in a magazine. In the safety business, a lot of our stories involve tragedy. It's still storytelling, and the idea is that you get a message across that can make a difference in someone's life. And in my business at the Naval Safety Center, that business is keeping people safe. I've always been about taking care of shipmates. So every story I did, every video I made, every article that was in my magazine, I did it with a sailor in mind, with a shipmate in mind, a Marine, a civilian. Maybe that story in the magazine, maybe that one video clip could make a difference, prevent a mishap, save a life. To me, what the Navy is about is the opportunity to test yourself, to see what you're made of. You can make the Navy what you want it to be. If you want to face that challenge and take it on, it's very rewarding in a personal sense. If travel and adventure and visiting foreign places is on your list, that's going to happen in the Navy. Now, it doesn't come free. You got to work. You're going to have the transportation is going to be on, a ship, a sub, an aircraft. But the opportunity to travel the world and see things aside from work exists. So if that's the adventure you're after, the Navy was the place for me, and I was able to call that into a 23-year career. A very rewarding career, and I treasure every moment that I served.
Sea Stories brought to you by America's Navy. Learn more at Navy.com.